Aloha. Good afternoon. This is Andrew Aloha live out of Tucson, Arizona. Spiritual Image Productions on Webinar Jam, establishing and maintaining right relationships through human values. Aloha and welcome to today's GPS Paranormal Golden Age Hangout. We're doing a whole webinar series all week long. We started Monday and we'll be finishing up on Sunday. We have 4 presenters every day that are presenting, and I do want to take the time to just let you know Mercury retrograde strikes again, and earlier I was having a hard time getting into some of my pages, but come to find out that I was putting in the wrong address. It helps to put in the right address, of course. But again, that's part of Mercury retrograde. And anyhow, I want to thank you for being here. Right now, we're doing, and for those of you that don't know, I'm a radio show host. We do, in fact, Lori here. Lori, aloha, Lori.
Aloha.
Lori here has been a veteran a co-host with the show for several years. We've been doing a show called Intimacy, Tantra, a Relationship Psychically Fulfilled once a month, every month for the last 4 years plus. And so you've been on the show since the get-go, pretty much, haven't you, Lori?
I think about, no, it'll be 3 years, I think, coming September.
Oh, really? So you weren't there? I thought you were there at the get-go.
No, not the inception.
Yes,
no.
I can. So anyhow, so I thought you had, but anyhow, this show has been going on for over 4 years, or about 4 years, and Lori, I guess, came in about a year, and so anyhow, every show is different. In every show, we have, sometimes it's just Lori and I. And other times we have therapists, we have other psychics, we have other tantrikas, specialists, other relationship specialists. So today, what happens is sometimes people come in and we give free readings, we give free relationship advice, we get free Tantra sessions, and of course they're all PG, but that's besides the point. But sometimes what happens is just in case we pick a subject matter just to talk about, in case people don't want to take advantage of our services, then that doesn't hurt my feelings either, none either, because I just assume sit here and have a conversation about sex, about relationships, about psychic abilities, about all the stuff that goes on with relationships and so forth. So today, Lori and I talked about this, and we decided to talk about cheating, love affairs, and monogamous relationships. So that's what we're going to be talking about right now. And I'm not sure, I think that there's a whole lot of people that do cheat, and there's also a whole lot of reasons. Everyone has some reasons for doing so, and not that they're right or wrong necessarily either way, but it happens. And so I guess, Lori, the question is, and for those of you that well, I guess you can't see the chat room, but anyhow, there's a video that I was watching earlier on, what's that guy's name? Colbert.
Stephen Colbert.
Colbert report.cc.com. Anyhow, there was a woman by the name of Colbert. Oh, Stephen Colbert. Okay. There's a woman that was on there earlier that I watched, and her name was Esther Perel, and she was talking about cheating in relationships. So anyhow, you can go and check it out if you want, and just Google Stephen Colbert and then and Esther Perel in the same search, and you'll probably find it. But anyhow, she was talking about cheating in affairs and why people cheat. But I think what we're going to do is Lorraine, what I want to do is I want to define it for ourselves. What is cheating to you? What does that mean to you? What how do you define that?
Well, I think it's one, and I also want to also refer people to the YouTube video that Esther does. It's from a TED Talk, and she happened to write a book, which I haven't. It's on my list of books to read. It's called Mating in Captivity, and it's, from what I understand, it's a new look about relationship and about monogamy. And are we really structured to be monogamous creatures, as human beings? And because I haven't read it yet, I can't really speak for the material in the book. But what is cheating for me? I think I have to agree with Esther as something that it's a betrayal of trust. But I also want to talk about, in the sense of relationships, why there's problems with trust is because we don't, one, communicate. We don't have a groundwork, or we don't have a guideline around, this is, when I'm coming into a relationship, these are my expectations. This is what I'm looking for.
No, Lorae, okay, hang on a second. What I want to do is, before we get into the logistics about why people do what they do, what I want to do is define this. I want to be clear on that we're all on the same page concerning what cheating is, what an affair is. So go ahead and again, just define for me what cheating is to you.
Well, okay, to me, as I said, basically I agree with her. It's a betrayal of trust. So, period. It can be, for some people, it's emotional betrayal. For some people, it's physical betrayal. Your attention isn't on the other, your partner. Your attention is outward. So this is such a deep, dark, yucky subject and topic that, again, affects people's lives. But it's something that, when people are in a relationship, they don't want to talk about.
Okay, so hang on a second. But before it's to betrayal, it's
betrayal
dishonesty.
Of trust. Right, betrayal of trust.
But before it becomes betrayal, we're talking about dishonesty, the action that actually happens, that people move into before going into betrayal, is dishonesty. It starts out with dishonesty, not being honest about something or another. So that's where it starts at. And then eventually they can decide whether they want to act upon the dishonesty or not. And if they act upon dishonesty, on that dishonest act, then it becomes betrayal after that. See what I'm saying? But and what I'm doing is I'm breaking it down to a process. And it is. Cheating is a process. It's not something people just come up with and they do. It's a process. They decide they're going to be dishonest and then act upon it.
But, okay, so even prior to that, there are no relationships. When a man and woman come into a relationship, they don't have any framework for defining their relationship. It's from an assumption that is given by society about monogamy. So if you don't buy into the monogamy model,
good.
Then you can't cheat. You can't be dishonest. Well, you can be dishonest. You can cheat, but I don't know if dishonesty is part of that betrayal of trust.
And that's the point. You're okay. Good. So you're getting ahead of the point that I'm trying to make as well. But before they become dishonest, they choose to do that. They choose to be that way because you're right. They don't have any structure in terms of what it means to be in their integrity, in terms of what it means to be in healthy relationship, in terms of what it means to be, loving and caring and compassionate. Their framework of all that is blown out of proportion before when they get into that point of being dishonest and then leading into betrayal. Does that make sense to you?
It does.
So they start out unhealthy to begin with.
Yes, right. And most, I would say most relationships are dysfunctional. People have not expressed
Exactly.
what their desires and needs are in that relationship with each other and with themselves. So one person may come in and go, you know, I I feel I have the capacity to love more than one person. I'm going to marry you, but I still have the capacity to love more than one person in different ways, sexually, non-sexually. The other
Okay,
person
good.
is
Good. So
coming in with,
now,
I want you to be my end-all, do-all person that I am involved with, and those two are conflicting right there.
okay, so now what you're talking about is boundaries, and that's what's going to help people maintain a right, healthy relationship. And so people don't take the time, and this is what you and I teach all the time. People don't take the time to set boundaries with each other, and even if you do set boundaries with each other, at one point, some point during in the future, you might want to sit down and reset those boundaries again. And even if they're exactly the same again, then they're exactly the same again. But sometimes they do change. So boundaries are ongoingly. People are ongoingly reassessing, resetting their boundaries as you go on with your life and with your relationship with that other person or persons for that matter. So it just varies. But right now, what you're talking about is boundaries. People don't take the time to set boundaries with each other to substantiate. Well, this is what a healthy relationship is for us in this framework right here, right now. And for everybody, it's different. Again, everybody has different boundaries. But go ahead.
I don't know if the word for me that using boundary is correct, but it's like these are my expectations and desires for the relationship and how we can grow. And again, you brought up a very good point. People don't take the time to reevaluate their relationship and see how it's growing, if it's stagnant, or if people are growing apart, and to evaluate that.
Absolutely.
And just stay in
and
peace and then become miserable. I was reading yesterday online about this gentleman who was in a relationship. He did go out and he cheated. He had a sexual experience with somebody else because his needs weren't being met in his current relationship. His wife was an alcoholic. She had a lot of
Can you do me a favor? Do you have your YouTube page open? Any other pages open right now? Close them down.
Oh, okay.
Will you please? Because that takes energy and that causes distortion. But go ahead.
All right.
But you were talking about this guy and this woman that you were talking to yesterday.
Well, no, I was reading on a blog site, on a website, and he was telling about they were talking about cheating, and he said, I needed to I was withering in this relationship. My wife wasn't complimenting me. My wife wasn't nourishing me in a sexual way, in an emotional way, and I chose to go outside of my relationship to seek that from another for like 6 months. Then he ended that. Well, hang on, let me finish the story. So then he decided to be authentic, or he chose to reveal that he had this relationship, and then the shit hit the fan. So his wife was upset. She's still treating him like shit and punishing him for this betrayal, but she is not taking responsibility for her alcoholism. She's not taking responsibility for her Catholic religious suppression around her sexuality and not being able to share herself with another human being. And my question is, why did she effing get married to this gentleman? What is marriage about? So like I said, they came into a marriage agreement for what? To make each other's lives miserable? That's the thing that drives me crazy about relationships. People are not conscious about what their intent is when they want to marry another person. And they're coming into the relationship for wrong reasons. Security, finances, loneliness, whatever. To have children. To use the man as a sperm donor. The woman just wants kids, and she needs a sperm donor. But she wants then she wants them to be taken care of. So, of course, men will marry a woman, especially if she's attractive, and then she turns off the intimate part because she's got what she wants, and then he suffers. So then, again, the man wants to be, emotionally fulfilled and maybe sexually fulfilled, and he's not getting it from his partner. All of her energy is going to children. So that, again, this is just a great generalization. But like I said, the issue and the problem stems from people not being clear about why they are entering into a emotional contract and a marriage contract with each other. So then we get this word,
exactly,
cheating, that comes about because of the society's construct, but people are they're betraying each other when they do this.
so
And
now
they sense each other in the
that's what
relationship.
Esther Perot was talking about earlier. Esther Perot was talking about earlier in the video that I was watching is that the reason that she says that people are cheating is because they want attention. And then this Stephen Colbert person was saying because they want attention to their genitals, but that's besides the point. But anyhow,
and
well,
the
the point is
yes and no, but it's greater than that. They want attention. They want to be fulfilled. We come into this life to be loved, to love, and to be loved. But again, prefacing but no one knows what love is. They don't know how to love one another, much less love ourselves.
But the thing is, well, okay, first of all, Esther said the same thing. It's much bigger than just the attention to the genitals. And she said, but you're right too. You don't have to know what love is. You only it doesn't matter if you know exactly what love is. The point is that you're making effort to be in right, healthy relationship with your partner, with your lover, with other people, and with yourself. Not just with other people, but with yourself as well. So people are maybe they're cheating. They're wanting to be in right, healthy relationship with themselves, and that's the only outlet they have. So now one of the things that crossed my mind in terms of having an affair. Now, cheating and having an affair, I don't think are necessarily the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Because cheating, for the most part, I think has to do with dishonesty, whereas having a love affair with somebody may be just a fantasy that two people are playing out, and it involves nobody. They don't have a partner, and they're just having a love affair, and it might exist for a few months, and that's it, and they both know it, and then they part ways and they move on. So having a love affair doesn't necessarily mean that you're cheating. It just means that you're in a romantic interlude with somebody else, and it could be or not be dishonest. It's undetermined. But if long as people or if these people are involved with another person, and they actually could have boundaries where they are allowed to have a love affair with somebody else if as part of the process or part of the relationship, and that could be a probability as well. So that's undetermined. But again, an affair could be the same thing as a cheating. It just depends again on boundaries, and as long as people are set. And I think if people set like you said, take time to set boundaries and intentions at the get-go. And they can be ongoingly changed, further down the road if they want to do that. But if people are doing that regularly, and then I think that could easily prevent some kind of drama, some kind of abuse on your partner. That can be considered a form of abuse, of being dishonest with your partner and then going having a love affair with somebody else. That's absolutely a form of abuse, no doubt. Now, the reason behind all that is a whole different story, and that's a whole different program. But that's besides the point.
I tend to disagree with your word affair. I think affairs are always involving, another when you're in relationship. I could be wrong. I'd have to go and look at the dictionary definition. But I think when they talk about someone's having an affair, it's going outside of your current relationship to seek another. One thing that Esther talked about is like what can happen from affairs is that they can be a catalyst to change things, or they can bring up the elephant in the room, so to speak, that there's an issue, there's a problem going on in that relationship, and it needs to be addressed. This is something that's then, it's out in the open, and there can be starting to have conversation around what is going on in the relationship. It's not about what the person did in the affair, but of course the person who's insecure in the relationship can be just focusing on the affair and not really on why the affair happened and how it's going on affecting the relationship.
And so, since you and I disagree on what the meaning of affair is, let's just focus on cheating instead.
Right.
Okay. So, but go ahead, and I hear you.
So, as I said, I think the reason why there's cheating is because the person who starts that act is looking for some kind of personal fulfillment that is not being met in the relationship and may not get met in the relationship. So that's another reality. So again, the cheating can be involving a fantasy. It can be. It doesn't need to be. It can be involved. So Stephen Colbert in that talk was talking about. Well, I'm cheating with these people in the audience. I'm having a sloppy affair with them for however many years he's been on TV.
Exactly.
And she started to laugh.
And that was very well put because cheat.
So it doesn't have to be a specific.
Cheating doesn't have to be physical.
No, it can be your focus and attention and time is going away from your partner into something else, and that something else is taking the priority. However, if the person who's in the relationship is not allowing the connection, then of course you're going to be driving your partner away. Now, another thing that I have an issue with in monogamy is that it's structured around that each person is the do-all, end-all, be-all for personal growth. And we don't live in this monogamous bubble. We have different relationships in the world with many different kinds of people, places, and things. So if you understand that, you need to let your partner, each person needs to develop their own sense of self and their own selves so that they can be a more total human being, and then they come into the relationship to create a third piece, which is the blending of the two personalities and the two interests, as opposed to, I'm only half a person and I need you to complete me. I think that's a crock, and that's where a lot of relationships.
Well, that's very unhealthy. Absolutely, exactly. That's absolutely unhealthy. Two beings should be coming whole into a relationship, and making another whole as a relationship. So absolutely, I agree with you 100%. For some, and right now you're talking codependency, and that's one of the most unhealthy relationships you can have out there. That's just like feeding a whole it's supporting more dysfunctional activity out there, and that's not what you want. Absolutely not what you want.
Correct. So again, going back to the very premise, I don't think people really, when they start relationship, haven't done internal work on themselves, and they're just coming from this place of I'm trying to think of the word, of being, like I said, dysfunctional. We have dysfunctional families, so we're just completing that or adding to that dysfunction when we create our own other family, which is the marriage relationship. And you're just playing out what your family dynamics were doing with, but it's in it's a new place, it's in a new structure. So
got it. So I think what the word is being in your power, and being confident, and being in right healthy relationship with yourself. Before you get into a relationship that would be probably much better than going in there and expecting someone else to complete you, make you whole. That would be like completely ludicrous. That, again, we're talking about a codependent relationship when you're doing that. But if you can come in as a person and be your own person, and be your own personality in a relationship, and then when you get together as a whole, then you're a different personality. Well, you shouldn't be a different personality at all. You should be a more extended personality of with the other person as a whole, and not a completely different personality at all. So that's what I think. But anyhow, now some of the steps that would I guess circumvent cheating and also deal with the issue of cheating would be what for you? What do you figure for that?
Well, she's going back to what Esther was saying. She says, affairs happen or cheating happens because people are looking for attention. It could be attention from other people, or something to fulfill your sense of self. It can be for more of a feeling of aliveness. Again, that energy tends to die in relationships, or sometimes people smother, or we have vampires in people are so needy in relationships that they suck the life out of you. And so getting yourself fulfilled by somebody else or something else is a way to replenish yourself and restore yourself. Looking for the sense of vibrancy, and also, like I said, we have in the monogamous relationships, there really isn't much opportunity for each person to grow and explore and understand who they are. That was the reason why I entered relationships. As I said, I don't know why other people enter relationships, and I think that's why most relationships are unsuccessful, is because they don't have a criteria. They're coming from these more survivalist ideas. Again, they want they're lonely. They want someone to take care of them. They want someone there's financial security. They want to have children, and they're looking for the other person to give them these things. But
as opposed to what? Lorae, go ahead.
Well, again, I'm looking for a partner to challenge me as a human being, to help me understand who I am as I'm walking this spiritual path of understanding myself on this planet, and why am I here and what am I supposed to be doing. And they're this added piece.
But I thought earlier we were talking about going into a relationship as a whole-centered person.
No one has ever, Andrew. No one's ever whole. Why I use that phrase is because most people haven't looked and done internal work, so they're missing something, and they're looking for the other person to complete them, as opposed to, I know I'm missing something, nobody can give me anything, I need to give it to myself, but I can still be working on that while the other person is working on their stuff, and we can come in to support each other in this process. That's what I'm saying.
Exactly. I hear you. Support is key. And I think maybe, and I'm, again, this is from what my understanding is. I think maybe coming together with a partner that's supportive is also an extension of who you are, and you are an extension of who they are, and not to necessarily. And I don't know if the word using the word complete, they actually complete you is actually the right statement. I'm not sure, but I think I feel pretty confident that if you come together with a person that supports you, you're in support of each other, then you're extending each other as a person. they extend. You know, through them you can be extended, and through you, they are extended as well, and therefore you guys are sharing with each other different components, different things, and there are some things that maybe you're not by yourself you're not good at, maybe cooking or maybe mechanic work or whatever, and then when you come together with your partner, then they know how to cook really well, and you know how to be a mechanic, so you extend each other's personalities or support of each other. So that's what I'm understanding and feeling comfortable with. That's what I hear.
Right. And if that's not happening in the relationship, then that's what may cause another person to cheat, to go out and find those other parts of themselves through someone else or something else. They're looking to reconnect those lost parts.
Okay.
And so
now, how would you, if somebody was cheating on you, or you dealt with a relationship where one was cheating on the other, or both are cheating on each other, how would you support them in overcoming that?
Well, again, that was something that Esther was talking about. It's like the dilemma is to tell or not to tell if you've done this cheating. It's like, what would it do to the relationship? What would it do to the person, your partner? So,
so you're saying that part of the process
and different. So part of that is a discernment. And there's this thing about telling truth.
Yeah, part of your.
But there's
so part of the process is you're saying is to put it out on the table. That's what I hear you saying.
No. So again, like going back to the story of this blog that I was reading about this man who had a 6-month affair. His wife was alcoholic, sexually dysfunctional. He told her about the affair. All she did was persecute him and keep harping and harping and harping about the affair and never let it down. All the while not seeing her responsibility in what took place and why he did it.
Okay.
That to me is tragic.
So
that to me is
okay. Good. So now what you're saying right
so
there.
My thought is
right
that it would be better to zip it, not let his partner know that he did this.
No. What you're saying is that you're saying it's people need to take accountability for their actions, and that's not what's happening in that type of a relationship. People aren't taking accountability for their actions and being responsible for their behaviors, and so therefore she wasn't. That dysfunction keeps going.
Yeah, so
that's what I'm saying. Both of them.
So in the long run, my thought would have been it would have been better for him to have peace in the home. And there's other things going on. They were caring for her elderly parents, and etc. and stuff. So there are other kinds of things. But my thought is it would have been better for him to withhold that. I really think so. In order so that he would have been targeted. Just from what I was reading. So this is just an assumption. So like I said, I was in a relationship. Can I go from personal experience? I was in a relationship. I was not getting my needs fulfilled emotionally and other things. There were other things going on. I had an affair. I cheated with somebody else. It really made me evaluate: did I want to be in that relationship? Was it worth it? Was this man's actions toward me honorable and honoring? What was I allowing myself to suffer in that relationship? And of course, when he found out about it, I was abused. Physically.
Severely.
So also severely abused. And did he take into account any of his responsibility for why I was unhappy of not getting my needs fulfilled and met and yada yada? No, he just focused on I cheated and he was going to punish me even more.
Okay, and that's what he felt was his responsibility.
And he felt justified doing that.
I hear you, and not that he was, but that's what happened.
And lots of people have that mindset. They feel justified in torturing and persecuting their partner because, again, with that idea around monogamy, this person's cheated and I'm going to make them suffer. And how horrible is that?
So
if
again,
that's not a relationship killer, I don't know what is. And people stay in relationships.
Lorae, earlier I mentioned if you were working with a couple, how would you help them support them get over this whole situation?
Well, I'm not a therapist. I would say do more suggestion or counseling. But if it's something beyond my scope, I would probably send them to a marriage family therapist or a sex therapist, whatever, and go back into their deep-seated issues that go beyond the relationship. Like I said, sometimes some of this stuff is from family and childhood that needs to be worked on, and that's beyond my scope. I kind of deal with more in the moment things.
Exactly.
So again, as a person who's a health practitioner, I refer out to, and I have lots of other places where I can refer someone to that I feel would be qualified to handle a particular issue. But if both people are wanting to work on themselves, I would do some processes to understand why this happened.
Do you have other pages open right now? Because if you do, close them down, please.
The only one I have. Okay, everything is closed, just us. Nothing else is working.
Okay, good.
So there's this really wonderful, this is a Tantra exercise. It's called Vajra and Yoni Talk. And this is kind of a Gestalt. If you don't know what Gestalt is, it's a German word. And it's a form of using an inanimate object or a body part, and you're voicing, your subconscious is speaking through it. So let's say a couple comes to me and there was a sexual cheating. So I might have one person just sitting and witnessing, and the other person speaking from their genitals, and having the genitals talk about the relationship, the needs, the wants,
so
the desires
they would talk
of the genitals. Well, not the genitals, not the person.
Yeah, no, I hear you. That's what I'm saying.
Say,
the genitals would talk to each other.
Right. So let's say I'm doing the exercise, and I would say, I am Lorae's Yoni. I'm going to speak on what I'm feeling right now. And do that. So it's not Lorae talking, it's my Yoni is talking. In some psychological context, they may say, let's say I want to talk to my mother's dead, but I have a pillow across from me, so I would be speaking to the pillow, but speaking to the pillow as if I was speaking to my mother. So here we're just kind of using that context that my body part can speak, and I can use my hand, I can use my breasts, I can use my belly, I can use my genitals, whatever I feel that has this wisdom or information that's coming through my subconscious to give to my ego mind, and also to share with my partner. And then we would reverse roles, and then the partner could express through his belly or his genitals how what he feels is going on in the relationship, what is taking place, desires, wants, needs, what withholds, those kinds of things. And then I might have the couple do a acknowledging exercise where they would give compliments to each other in honoring, like, you know, I really, when I met you, I really was attracted to your eyes. Your eyes are beautiful and they speak truth. And have, say, 3 things that comes from the heart and really feel that. But I would have them do a little meditation first, kind of grounding into their body, and then, you know, pick who's going to go first, or I would assign who would go first and who would just listen. And the person just sits there and takes that in before they say their next compliment. And if the person can't come up with a compliment, they have to sit there and wait until it comes from this place of truth. They're just not speaking words. It has to have a meaning behind it, and however long that takes. And for some couples, it takes a long time to give the person an accolade or a stroke, so to speak. That's the term, stroke.
So, and you've done this before?
Yes, I have. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then and what has been the results when you've done this with people, with couples?
I would say usually there's a shift, an energetic shift, because again, how this is different than the mind stuff going into like a mental state. When you're relaying an emotion about a feeling, and you're really being authentic about it, you go out of that negative space into a new place. And that's where a healing can take place. So that's where I kind of see that this work is a little bit different than like therapy. Therapy can just be rehashing the old program and recording over and over and over again. This is dealing with what you're feeling in the moment, in the right here and now, and then being able to express it through words, and then have it being accepted, or at least acknowledged and heard by your partner. They may not accept it, but at least it's being acknowledged and heard. You're putting it out there, and then seeing what happens. So here we're getting into the state of being vulnerable, of knowing that your expression is, you're taking a risk. And that's what relationships are about. Authenticity, taking risks, knowing that maybe your needs may not get immediately fulfilled or fulfilled at all, but just being able to express that. So couples work is something that I don't do a lot of. I usually work solo with men or women, but sometimes I do get couples, and this is a kind of thing that we might work through.
Now, what are other ways that or techniques or methods that you would use to help circumvent cheating in a relationship?
Well, again, I would say I wish that I could. I don't teach, and I haven't taken nonviolent communication, but I would definitely have any couple that's entering a relationship take some kind of communication course, being able to express themselves and express their wants, needs, and desires
in a good, healthy way.
In a good, healthy way. That's right. And again, if you look at relationships, we don't do that. I've heard, even with friends, how many times, like, the man will just go, well, okay, my father's in my family thing. My father, in order to keep peace, he let my mother do whatever she wanted. She was involved in church and social groups and Girl Scouts and volunteering and everything else like that. And I never really saw them function as a couple. But he just wanted her to be happy.
Exactly.
But I don't think he ever.
But they weren't really connected with each other.
That's right. They were, So as I said, most people carry over what they've experienced in their childhood through watching their parents, and they mimic that in their other behaviors. And how many people are married 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 times? They keep doing it over and same thing over and over again. It's insanity. It's a form of marriage insanity, so to speak. Because they haven't changed their behavior. Yeah. They keep finding a different face, but they're doing the same thing over and over again, and expecting a different result, and they're not getting it.
So far, some of the techniques and methods that we have available for people to circumvent cheating, or even deal with their cheating, possibly. And again, we're not licensed therapists, so we can't make any claims on that level. But they can. First of all, set boundaries or set intentions with each other in a relationship. They can change the way they communicate, maybe by taking some kind of nonviolent communication course or whatever. And also, you're saying that they could do this technique you're talking about concerning genitals talking to each other,
Right.
or whatever.
That kind of thing.
And then another thing that would, I think, that would, that's what I'm saying. They could take some tantric courses that would help them with communication and intimacy as well, not just communication. Right. And then also the other thing that they could do is expand their relationship from a monogamous relationship to a polyamorous relationship, and bring in 1 or 2 or 3 or other people that might help with that understanding process. And it's undetermined. That's a way of circumventing cheating. I'm not suggesting or supporting any of that necessarily. I'm just saying that those could be options to consider, rather than just throwing the relationship away or beating each other up, or whatever else that doesn't work, that's unhealthy to begin with.
Right, but what I know about
we got about 10 minutes left, yeah. Lori. Go ahead.
Oh, I said, I've never been in a polyamorous relationship, but in March I was in a clinical sexology training, and the woman that was assisting was in a polyamorous relationship, and those are even more difficult. So it's just that if you're having a problem with monogamy, you just don't want to introduce a third or fourth into what's going on, because it's like adding more fuel to the fire. So again, this is something very conscious that this couple decided to do. Well, there's criteria though.
I've come across. Oh, I hear you.
You have to really be clear about communication. You have to deal with the jealousies, and it doesn't mean that because you're polyamorous you don't get jealous, or you don't experience negative emotions. Yes, you do, and probably even more. But what they do differently than in a monogamous relationship is that they talk about it. They make time to deal with these issues. And they're also, their concept of love isn't limited to just one person. They know that love is expansive. It's an expanding emotion. It's not a contracting emotion. And so the love can be in a heart relationship and just, doesn't have to be sexual, or it can be in a sexual relationship. This woman who was, like I said, assisting at this workshop was staying at her partner's house, which is closer to the training, and her husband's polyamorous partner was flying in from the East Coast and was going to be spending a week with him. And of course their children were late high school and college age, and they were also being more open to, well, mommy and daddy have different partners. Mommy and daddy love other people also, which is, try to wrap your head around that as you're a kid. We're not taught that as children.
Well, no, but see, the thing is that the age that we're going into is called the age of Aquarius versus the age of Pisces that we're coming from, which has to do with monogamy, which has to do with individualism, which has to do with number 6, the color blue, and and all that has to do with Piscean age. Is not the same as the Aquarian age. The Aquarian age is all about group effort, religious ceremonial order, number 7, the color purple. And there are a lot of people that are living successful lives as a polyamorous relationship. And so and there are a lot of people that have turned to polyamorous versus the monogamous, and that have successfully made that transition right away, because that's where they were at, and that's what they needed. And then again, you're right. There's a lot of people that it's not for them, and they might start out and they might go ahead and go into that type of relationship, but after a while they find out, well, no, it's not for them. And that's okay too. But the point is that you're making an effort to resolve your issues, and that's what's even more important, to clear up those issues and in a good, healthy way. And polyamorous, if it's done right, it can be a very healthy relationship. But again, you're talking about one woman out of thousands of people out there. You're talking about one woman. That doesn't make anything. That's not even a stat. Okay.
So polyamorous, as I said, polyamorous relationships are just as challenging, if not more, than monogamous. And if so, my advice is, if you're having issues with a monogamous relationship, I would just not jump into the fire of polyamory. It has to be a very responsible decision,
and that's true.
a very informed decision,
you're absolutely correct.
And you would need support from outside to
right.
assist you in the transition process. And again, it has to be
from others,
the knowledge of both people. Whereas again, when we're going back to cheating is done without the other person's knowledge. There's an activity going on without the other person knowing.
Earlier, I gotta say, earlier you said that guy probably should have shut his mouth, kept his mouth shut, and never said anything. But that's not good either, because if he hangs on to that energy is lodged into his body system, and then eventually it's going to create a block. It's going to create a disease, cancer, or something else that he's going to have problems with in the future, and then he's going to be screwed anyhow. So it's actually better for him to put it out on the table. That way he either can move on to something healthier, or either way he's going to move on to something healthier no matter what the outcome is. So putting it up on the table, I think probably was a good idea. Absolutely.
I kind of feel sad, and I don't think that it was a wise decision. It's over and done what he did. But it's like, what was his truth? Was his truth to, again, like you said, to not suffer and to keep this as a deep, dark secret, or to say, this is something I did, this is something that I used as a way for me to grow and to learn and to change, and do I have to tell my partner everything and be healthy about it? So again, it's how you look at it. So again, you're looking at the unhealthy side, but more often than not, people don't see that there's a healthy thing about not revealing. So, like I said, it's individual, and as I talked about with Tantra, finding your own truth. My truth in not revealing may be different than his truth in revealing or not revealing. So, it's all individual and subjective.
Yeah, well, I mean, because when you revealed your truth to your partner at the time, the consequences were also, and see, that's a whole different process, because you're talking about revealing truth that causes you to be in danger, which is not the same thing as this guy, which he revealed his truth and caused him to be just fuel the fire. But eventually, I think that was easier to deal with than hanging on to that truth forever and ever, and then he gets cancer, and then he's screwed to begin with. But
I don't know if you're
talking about truth and revealing truth. Now, hang on. Let me finish. Now, if you're talking about revealing truth and it puts you into danger, then that's a whole different ballgame. I mean, you're absolutely correct. I agree with you 100%. And you should be very careful if you're doing something like that. And maybe at that point you need to get in touch with authorities if you feel like you're in danger because you're going to be revealing the truth or something like that. But otherwise, if it's putting you in a position, so you have to deal with your issue to begin with, and no matter what the outcome, you're still going to have to deal with the issue. And the truth will set you free, and you know that. So that to him was setting him free, and I think that was probably a lot more healthier than hanging on to that truth and putting up with all that stuff. That's what I think.
But every day he's reminded that he had an affair, that he cheated, and his wife is just being the gnat to keep picking at him.
Yeah, but he doesn't have to stay in that relationship, and you know that.
As I said, there's conditions around staying in the relationship. He's caring for her, assisting her in caring for her elderly parents. She's not responsible for caring for her elderly parents. He's taking on this burden. So, like I said, it's very sad. That's what we create, and as the woman, people stay in relationships for longer than they should be, and that's. I don't make judgments. When you figure your time is up or not. But as far as I know, that gentleman is staying in that relationship. He's suffering, and he's suffering maybe even more because he did choose to reveal. That's my take on it. So.
And that's his dharma. That's his dharma, and that's where he's at. So
Yeah.
I guess. So anything else? We got about 5 minutes left. We're talking about cheating, love affairs, and monogamous relationships, and this is the Intimacy Tantra Relationship Psychically Fulfilled show. We do this show every fourth Friday of the month on Blog Talk Radio. I'm a radio show host with Spiritual Productions. We're on Blog Talk Radio. We do a variety of shows, a relationship show, psychic show, channeling show, music show. We do interviews, a travel show, and even a meditation once a month, a full moon meditation. So you can go to spiritualimage.productions.com. There's a link in the middle that says SIPS Divine Events. If you click on that button, that shows you all the shows, the featured shows we do throughout the month. And then at the bottom, there's additional stuff, miscellaneous activities that we do, extracurricular activities that we do, as ongoing, with whatever's going on. And so anyhow, I decided that we were going to go ahead and do this show here on the webinar series to give people a taste. Typically, a lot of times people will come in. We'll have other psychics here and relationship specialists. They'll come in and we'll give them readings and relationship advice. So that's something that we do for free if you ever care to join us on one of those shows. And so, if you're having trouble with cheating or whatever else is going on, and you want some advice, maybe some good sound advice that would help you move on to your next step, whatever that may be, then you can always, of course, come out to us and get in touch with us, or get a hold, or plug into the show, and then we'll work with you as best we know how. So, anything else, Lorae? Go ahead.
So I would just encourage people to check out the Colbert Report and see this short little 5-minute interview with Esther Perel, and then she has a longer talk on YouTube with the TED Talks, and then if you're really interested, maybe broadening your view around monogamy. Check out her book called Mating in Captivity.
Now, even more important
she's
than
an
Esther
authority
right now, Lorae, is if people would come in and connect with you and do a session with you, how do they do that?
Well, they can. I have 2 websites. I do phone coaching, and I also do in-person, hands-on body work, sexual body work. Phone coaching can be through either phone or through Skype. And you can find out that information on my websites, mahadakini.com, and the other one is femininewisdom.com. And if you're in San Francisco area, I work locally in San Francisco. I do travel, so if you're interested in sponsoring me to come to your city, I can do a talk, I can do a weekend workshop. If you're looking for a partner for a Tantra Intensive, I've done that as well in the past. I do travel, and I will be, today is the 12th of June, and I will be in New York City from the 15th through the 23rd. So I do little road trips and go to different areas where people aren't exposed to this kind of work. And so I do sex education. I do, as I said, hands-on body healing. I do sexual healing. I do energy work, that kind of thing. Sacred sexuality.
And then, if people want to take advantage of some of the special offers you have for this webinar series, good to the end of the month, what are they? I mean, to the end of this week, what are?
So I'm offering a 3-session phone work for $300. Normally I charge $125, so there's a $75 saving. I don't remember what I was offering through the body work sessions.
Well, just have.
They can call me for that information.
They can contact you, and then.
Right.
Okay, good. All right, Lorae, thank you. I want to thank you for coming here and sharing your information with us, sharing yourself with us, and
I promise not to cheat on you, Pat.
For the next relationship show we have. Oh, you're funny, whatever. But the next relationship show we have is next Friday. Was it next Friday? No, 2 weeks from this Friday.
Ours is on
the fourth Friday of the month.
The 27th. It should be the 27th of June.
Yeah, 27th. Okay, the 27th of June, we'll be doing the relationship show again. If you want to come in and do a free psychic reading or a free session with us, and there probably be one or two more other people on next of 2 weeks from this Friday at 7 p.m. Arizona time. We'll talk to them. Thank all of you for being here. Have a God Goddess weekend. Be the love that you are, always have been, and always will be. Aloha.